So they asked me to write a play. And that was, well, pretty cool, right? Actually, it was very cool. I was chuffed, honestly. I'd been getting all sorts of emails for a while by then. People from TV, radio, journalists, charity events, everyone really, but nothing like this before. People were always asking, would I come in? Would I talk about my experiences as a vocal Muslim woman? They always use words like that, vocal or outspoken or unapologetic. And of course, I didn't mind. Why would I? I was vocal. I mean, I am vocal. That's how I got people's attention in the first place. But I guess I'm not vocal about everything all the time, you know? How can I explain it? I mean, one day I was standing on a stage like this, actually, and I was talking and saying the same thing I'm always saying, like, hey guys, Muslims are multifaceted too, and actually, hey, Islamophobia is pretty institutional at this stage, so let's talk about that. And suddenly it just hit me. I lost my flow for a second because I had this realization that this is all for them, you know? This isn't for me, it's a performance for somebody else. And I just got really in my head because it all came clear to me at once then. That if I'm the vocal, unapologetic Muslim woman, then there's this implication of another quiet, submissive Muslim woman who's the stereotype I'm supposedly the opposite of. And it's only because I'm supposedly the opposite of what I'm supposed to be that I'm even getting space on these stages in the first place. So here I was feeling I was going around smashing stereotypes. But if you spend all your time disproving stereotypes, aren't you then also sort of relying on them? And if I'm assumed to be always smashing stereotypes, when do I get to say the more important truth, which is, hey, it's not either or. Sometimes I am quiet, actually, and sometimes I do fit the stereotype. And in fact, being outspoken is really exhausting. And maybe it's not the worst thing in the world for Muslim women to not be skateboarders and boxers and break records. Yes, this girl can, but she doesn't always have to. And just because she doesn't mean she can't. And actually, though, sometimes it's true. She can't. And why can't we talk about that on our own? Why do you always have to be watching? You know, I guess I was just realizing this whole time it's still been about you and your stereotypes. And there's never been space for me despite you dragging me up here on this stage. I mean, I've always noticed it the other way. That the only Muslim women who get invited onto TV and stuff are the ones who approve the stereotype. So ones will say, yeah, actually I used to be forced to wear hijab and my Muslim family are really violent. And that used to grate me because it just fits what you guys already think and get told. But the truth is, it's pretty unfair that it made me hate those stories because they are valid too, you know? It's just the context that made it unfair. That meant those stories got all the limelight because they met everyone's expectations, whereas other stories rarely made it. And that's why I was joyous when people wanted to hear from me, you know? Hear from someone saying, hey, I'm an independent and multifaceted individual who has chosen to submit to the will of Allah, the creator of the heavens and the universe. And that doesn't make me anything special or different or deserving of dehumanization. But after a while, I realized now that both those positions were ones made for other people. The reality of being a Muslim woman is more complex, and I lost the space as the vocal, unapologetic Muslim to be able to say, hey, I'm unapologetic about Islam and you guys are Islamophobic, but also not every day being a Muslim woman is mipster and badass and easy. And I do have grievances and struggles within my faith and with people of my faith, and that's okay and normal. So don't use it against me. So when I realized that day up on the stage that, wow, this whole role, this whole life that I've been building for myself is based on me being the reverse of a coin in somebody else's pocket, I realized I had to make space to show there's more than 2 ways to be a Muslim woman. There's more than 3 or 4. There's infinite. We are infinite. And then they asked me to write a play. And I knew This was the moment, right? I could write these complex, multifaceted, nuanced, unique Muslim women into existence. I could show them to be true now in a play. Because to be honest with you, I'd never seen a play with that many Muslim characters in it. But then, actually, scratch that. I mean, I might not have seen a play with that many Muslim characters in it, but how many times have I been to the theatre, you know? I did go to see this one play about Muslims ages ago, and I got scared. It was like the most Islamophobic thing I'd ever seen, and I felt like crying, but all these white critics were standing up, clapping, saying it was the most thought-provoking piece of the century, and there it was again. Why do we always have to be thought-provoking and big stories? So then I thought, okay, well, what if instead of some big story or complex, nuanced play, I just tell a simple story? You know, would the white critics even get that though? Like if I wrote a play about some Muslim hijabi girl who misses the last bus home because she was in the chip shop too late with her friends, and then she has to walk home, but she's a bit scared too because she didn't wear her coat with the hood, and well, she feels safer when the hood is up, to be honest, because then people can't tell straight away. And if they can't tell, well, yeah, she might still get some harassment, but it's a different type, isn't it? And at least they won't call her a terrorist and kick her down a set of stairs like they did to that one girl in the video. I mean, would that get a standing ovation? Or what if the whole play was just like not even in a language that the critics could understand? What if only my grandma could understand? Or what if the audience couldn't even tell it was rated 18 because they don't know the words? Well, I was going down this line of thought and I realized I was landing at the same questions as before. Who are our performances for? How can I exist without being for other people's eyes? And at the end of the day, I was getting to go on Radio 4 and all this stuff, but that was just for white people to say, hey, we found one who speaks good English and she's bright, so maybe they're not all that bad. Maybe we're not all that bad for giving her the time of day. Give yourselves on a pat before you go water your geraniums this afternoon. Well, that didn't quite sit right with me. And especially because I wondered how much it was actually doing for me, you know? One day on holiday, one of my best friends called from the UK and said he'd almost been arrested on the train because he left his bag for a second and the people in the carriage decided he must have been planning to bomb it. He said the worst part of it all, and come on, that's a lot of worse, was that there was this one Muslim woman sitting next to him who just said nothing at all. The thing is, though, I kind of got it. I got her, I mean. I said to him, maybe she was just scared, you know? And he said, didn't it sit wrong with me, who believes in speaking out for justice? And well, of course, speak out for justice. I'm vocal and unapologetic, remember? So I said yes, and I let him speak more down the phone, and then that night I felt a bit weepy. But I thought about that woman often. How scared she might have been. How, yes, she might have internalized stereotypes about him, but more likely scared because she saw herself in him. Saw her brothers, her dad, her husband, her kids in him, and she was paralyzed. What could she do? How would her voice help? Maybe she needed to get home fast. Maybe she'd had a bad day or been refused a job, or maybe some old white man told her she speaks good English and she just didn't have it left in her to stand up and defend the boy. Or maybe she did, but sometimes it's not always so straightforward, is it? And maybe the better version of the story, would it have been me, is that I'd stood up and said, wow, guys, this is super Islamophobic. He's just gone to the toilet. Why did none of you see something, say something when old Susan back there went to the food cart? But maybe another version of the story would have been that I didn't stand up, that I wanted to get home soon, that my phone had died, that I felt helpless and paralyzed, that I felt too visible, that I felt too ashamed, that I felt everything at once, and I felt his anger and his pain, but I also felt he always got to be louder. But that kind of story wouldn't fall on either side of the double-sided coin, so I don't know if it would sell. Anyway, the point is, standing on this stage now, I've got this chance to do this play right, to tell a new kind of story, but I just don't know what's left that I can say. I've tried all the angles by now, refuted the stereotypes, check. Unsettle the audience, check. Expose the dehumanization of Muslims to those who don't think they're complicit in it, check. And those things are all well and good, but I also just want to have a laugh sometimes, you know? not always be on the brink of Muslim diasporic turmoil, but like, who do I write the play for where we all laugh about the fact someone thought we were going to blow up a train carriage? Can I really afford to make that joke when I don't know who's watching? So here I am. They've asked me to write a play, and